practitioners, we're back, and it's week 3 of 2015, the Humble Practice, a year of self-awareness. We're going to look at how we sit, and I know most people think of yoga and sitting, and that means cross-legged on the floor, but most of us spend our days sitting in a chair, or we sit in a car. We sit a lot, and we sit mindlessly because we spend so much time doing it. Most of us sit like this, or like this, or even better, if you're a teenager, you sit like this, which, as you can see, is not very good for the spine, probably isn't helping you breathe well. So the first thing you want to do is notice how you're sitting. If you're really tall, you might sit back because your knees are higher than your hips. And so if you're somebody with long legs and a low chair and your knees are higher than your hips, maybe you sit forward and tip your knees down and drop your feet back, which already you can see helps the pelvis support the spine. Or if that's uncomfortable, maybe that doesn't feel good on your toes, or you'd rather have your feet flat on the floor, sit up on something. Put a blanket that's firm and folded underneath you, or a couple cushions, something so that you could raise your pelvis. And again, you want to get the knees a little bit or a lot of bit lower than the hips. That helps the pelvis support the spine so that you have the curves you're supposed to have in your spine present when you're sitting. Notice I'm no longer using the back. The back of the chair holding you up makes you stop using your core muscles. And I'm not talking about your six-pack. I'm talking about the muscles that surround and support the whole spine, from the tailbone all the way up to your skull. That's your core. And when you sit forward, you have to use your core. Immediately you can see that that helps me sit up a little taller. I get a little more space in my spine, and maybe I can even breathe a little better because the front of my body isn't so compressed. So that's the first thing, is just noticing how you're sitting. Those of you who are shorter, have shorter legs, taller chairs, and your feet don't hit the floor, for what we're about to do today, it is worth it to find something to put under your feet so that your heels can hit the floor. You want your heels and toes to be fully on the floor. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to show it yet, but all you're going to do is add this one idea. Without lifting your toes, I want you to press weight down into your heels. And I'm not going to try and do anything. I'm just going to do that, and you're going to see how that affects the rest of the body. So I'm sitting upright somewhat. It feels pretty good. And I push down in my heels, and just doing that wakes my thighs up, wakes my lower abdomen up. I didn't expect that. And suddenly my shoulders open even wider, and I can breathe better. Most of us don't breathe well because of how we sit and stand, and because these shoulders are too far forward, the spine is compressed. So just pressing down through the heels, just waking up the legs to help support the spine. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I don't want you to sit that way at your desk all day. That'll make you crazy and may create more problems than it solves. But if you sit that way, you're sitting at your desk maybe every half hour or even every hour. You set a timer on your phone or on your computer, and when it goes off, you just find your way forward. If you're like me, you uncross your legs, you get your feet flat on the floor, comfortably apart, and you press down into your heels, and you just breathe here. Hold that for 10 seconds, breathing, just 10, and then let go. And you won't want to collapse as much. Your body will have started to learn how to be more upright, and you'll like it. And an hour later, when you find you're here again, you uncross your legs, and you put your feet flat, and you press down into your heels, and you take a few deep breaths, and you continue your work. That's your practice for the week. How you sit. See, immediately I cross the legs. How you sit. I just want you to notice how you sit. Adjust it once in a while so that you can get the hips and the knees in a better position. Remember, knees should be level or lower than the hips. Get your feet flat on the floor, and then press down into the heels. No chair back supporting you. That's this week's practice, your first actual pose. Good luck. Let me know how it's going. Let me know how it changes how you sit. See you next week.